Hello learners, how are you all doing today? So I'm going to upload a series of micro lessons on concepts that might seem to be difficult but are actually easy in nature. I've often seen that students ignore concepts and they just mug up formulas, right? That's usually not a good approach because it tends to get tricky when there's a twist in the question. That's when you kind of lose out on that mark, and people might even lose out on a year, right? An entire year because of that costly mistake. So, my advice is that please focus on learning the concepts rather than learning the formulas. So, that's what we're trying to attempt here through these sessions, which are essentially micro sessions, right? Bite sized sessions where you can learn concepts from me if you watch my series of videos which I'm going to upload. So today we are going to learn the concept of allegations, right? Again, which is a usually confused topic, right? Students find it tricky, but trust me, it's super easy. We're going to understand the concept of averages, go on to weighted averages, and to allegations thereon, right? So let's get started. Let's first understand what are averages, right? So average is nothing but the sum of observations divided by the number of observations. I think all of you will know that. Now let's look at some of my marks, right? In 5 exams in say chemistry. I don't know why I said chemistry, but yeah. 85, 80, 90, 95. Okay, I'm not that brilliant, so 89. This is all out of 100, by the way. So, what is the usual method? See, now these are typically small numbers, so you might be able to add them right away, right? But what if these are big numbers, right? So you don't want to waste time just adding them up, right? So usually, I think you would have learned this in school as well. You choose a number which is typically the midpoint of these numbers, right? So let me choose 90 in this case, and I express all these numbers in terms of the number 90, right? So this would be 90 minus 5, correct? This is 90 minus 10, this is 90, 90 plus 5, and this is 90 minus 1, right? Now what we have to do is we have to add up all these numbers, correct? As you can see, 90 is repeated 5 times. So I'll straight away write 90 into 5, which is pretty intuitive. And then, right, we add up all the deviations. So what are the deviations? Minus 5, minus 10, which is minus 15. Minus 15 plus 5 is minus 10. Minus 10 and minus 1 is minus 11. Correct? So this essentially gives me 450 minus 11, right? Which is equal to 439. So 439 is the sum of all the observations. Now, just one more step left, right? To find out the average, you just have to divide the sum by the number of observations, which is 5 in this case. Correct? So if we do 439 by 5, right? Now again, I can divide this in one shot, but I'm just showing you some small tips and tricks which can come in handy when you're dealing with big numbers. So why don't we just write this as 400 plus 5 plus 39 by 5, right? So what does it give me? 80 plus 7.8, right? So the answer is 87.8, which is 80 plus 7.8. This is the average mark that I scored in chemistry across 5 subjects, right? I hope this concept is clear. Super easy. Right, so we're done with averages. Now let's move on to the next concept, which is weighted averages. Okay, so in this case, let's assume 2 classes, right? Division A and Division B, okay? Suppose there are 10 students in Division A and 15 students in Division B, okay? The average height of students in Division A is 30 centimeter. Wait, does that sound right? we're not talking about dwarf kids here, right? Let's make it slightly more realistic. How about 120 centimeters? That sounds about right? Because I don't want people to go judgmental on me and saying that, hey, how can kids be just 30 centimeter tall, right? So playing it safe. Class B, let's assume it as 110, right? Now suddenly a new principal, a crazy guy comes and joins this school. Okay, he wants to make some change to the way things are done here. So he creates a single division. Okay, he calls it division C. He mixes both the kids and creates this division. So how many kids are there now in this new division? There are 25 kids, correct? Which is the sum of division A and division B, correct? Now, what is the average height of division C? How do we find that out? That's a big question mark, but trust me, it's not difficult. It's super easy, right? Always in these topics, we ride on the basic concept of averages, which is average is nothing but the sum of observations over the number of observations, correct? Here, what is the observation, right? It's nothing but the individual heights of the students, correct? And what is the sum of heights of all the students in A and B put together? It's nothing but the average height into the number of students in division A, which is 1200, correct? And in case of division B, this will be 1650 centimeters, correct? This is the total sum of heights in division A and division B. Now, for finding out the weighted average of or the average height of students in division C, what do we have to do? We have to just add these two sum of heights, right? Because C consists of students from A and B, correct? So that is equal to 1650 plus 1200, which is equal to 2850. And how many students are there? 25, right? So this is the average height, correct? 1, 4, right? So we have found out that the average height of students in division C is equal to 114, correct? So this is the whole concept of weighted average. Now, if you observe closely, right, the value of 114 lies in between the average height of division A and division B, correct? 114, right? So please keep this concept in mind that when you are mixing two different substances or two different units, the resultant average metric would lie in between the value of average metric of the individual units, correct? So it can't be greater than 120 centimeter and it can't be less than 110 centimeter. Or in other words, the maximum value of the average metric would be 120 centimeter and the minimum value of the average metric would be 110 centimeter. This is a very important concept that you should bear in mind, right? The value of this average metric will depend on the magnitude as well as the number of observations in each of the individual units. So please keep this very important concept in mind. Okay, so we've looked at averages and weighted averages. Now let's move on to allocations, which is a slightly more complex topic. I mean, it might seem complex, but it's not so, trust me. So what is the whole concept of allocation, right? In allocation, what we're trying to find out is in what ratio should two substances or two items be mixed, right? So that you obtain a desired metric, okay? Correct? This is what you all would have learned, right? We have to find out the ratio in which two substances have to be mixed so that the resultant mixture has a particular desired metric, okay? And these are the individual values of the mixtures, individual values of the metrics of the mixtures which are mixed. This is what allocation is all about, right? Now, let's understand how this is derived. formula of allocations that we just looked at, it is derived from the concept of weighted averages. Okay, so let's try and draw a parallel to the heights example that we talked about. Okay, this is the weighted averages formula, right? When a substance A, okay, with say a price P1 and quantity Q1 is mixed with another item B with price P2 and quantity Q2, right? So the resulting metric, which is price in this case, would be P1 Q1 plus P2 Q2, which is the sum of the price quantity equivalent, right, divided by the total quantity, right? So that will give you the resultant price metric here. Now this can be typically price, or this can be say concentration of something, right, of milk or alcohol. Those are the typical variations that you see in these questions. Now just try and draw a parallel to the heights question that we discussed, right? In that case, we had two divisions A and B, right? P1 was the height, average height of the students in division A, and Q1 was the number of students in division A, right? P2 in case of division B was the average height of students in B, and Q2 was the number of students, right? And this was the overall total number of students in A and B, and that gave you the average height of the new division C, which was a combination of division A and division B. So that is the whole concept of weighted average, as we saw, right? Now in allocation, what do we have to find out? We have to find out the ratio in which both these items have to be mixed such that a particular resultant price or resultant concentration comes into being, right? So we have to find out Q1 by Q2, correct? So what do? We just make Q1 and Q2 the subject of the formula, right? That's simple math, correct? So let's see how to do that. What do we do for that? We just cross multiply, right? So that gives you PQ1 plus PQ2 is equal to P1Q1 plus P2Q2. Now you have to make Q1 and Q2 the common factor in either side, right? So I take this term onto this side, correct? So that gives me PQ1 minus P1Q1 is equal to P2Q2 minus PQ2, correct? If I take Q1 as the common factor here and Q2 as the common factor here, I will get Q1 into P minus P1 is equal to Q2 into P2 minus P, correct? Hence, from this, I can bring Q2 onto this side. That will give me Q1 by Q2 is equal to P2 minus P by P minus P1, right? Now just look at this. This is the formula for allocation, right? You all must be aware of this. Now from this relationship, what can we write, right? What else can we write? Here, obviously, P2 is greater than P is greater than P1, correct? The resultant metric P lies between the higher average P2 and the lower average P1, right? So just keep this basic, very basic concept in mind, that your resultant metric will lie between the averages of the two items which are being mixed, correct? So the relationship is P2 greater than P greater than P1. So hence we can also rewrite this whole allocation formula as, right, let's write that again. Q1 by Q2 is equal to P2 minus P by P minus P1. Here we saw that P2 is greater than P greater than P1. So what does that tell me? This is quantity of the lower item, or right, or the cheaper item, whichever way you want to call it, divided upon the quantity of the higher item or the dearer item or the expensive item, correct? Because some textbooks use the terminology of QC by QD, which is cheaper and dearer, correct? So hence I am using both the terms. But lower and higher helps you memorize this easily, or helps you understand this easily. Divided by P higher or dearer minus P, which is the resultant average metric divided by P resultant metric minus P lower or cheaper. Correct? So this is your alligation formula. Hence in this we're just finding out the quantity in which the two items have to be mixed so as to obtain a particular level of price or concentration or whatever they want you to find out, right? Doesn't matter. So hope you have understood this concept. Now let's work out a couple of questions and see how we can apply this concept to those questions. Okay, please go through this question. Okay, you can see it on your screen. Let's see how to solve it using the concept of alligations, right? So what's given? There's some type of rice which is rice 1, correct, which has a price of rupees 9.3 per kg. This is the average price, right? I call it P1, correct. There's some other type of rice, rice 2, which is priced at rupees 10.8 per kg, right? 10.8 per kg means this is the average price, correct, of this type of rice. I call it P2. Now which one is P higher and P lower in this case? Pretty clear, right? This is P higher, right, and this is P lower or cheaper or dearer, whichever way you want to call it. What happens? These two types of rice it's mixed, correct, and you get a resultant mixture for which the resultant price is rupees 10 per kg. That's what the question says, correct. They want you to find out the ratio in which the two types of rice are mixed, correct. That's what they asked me to find out. So isn't this a direct application of the alligations formula, right? So we have to find out Q lower by Q higher, right, which is P higher minus resultant price by resultant price minus price lower, right? So what is P higher here? 10.8. What is the resultant price? 10, correct. Again 10 minus, what is P lower? 9.3, correct, which gives you 0.8 upon 0.7, which is 8 by 7, right? So hence 8:7 is the answer. The lower priced rice has to be mixed with the higher priced rice in the ratio 8:7. That's the answer. Hope that you've understood that it's a very simple concept, right? And what I would suggest is practice enough questions and try to visualize this formula in your mind, right? Because you know what comes where, right? So once you've identified which is the higher price and which is the lower price, you should be able to do this calculation quickly in your head, correct? So please try it. Okay, let's look at the next question. This is a slightly more tougher question. I mean tougher compared to the first one. Please go through the question. Right, hope you have gone through the question. So what is asked, right? So there is milk, okay, and there's a shopkeeper who wants to make some profit, but he's a clever guy, right? So what does he do? He says that I'm selling you milk at the same price at which I bought the milk in the first place, right? So he's saying his cost price is equal to his selling price. Now, is that really possible? I mean, why would a person do that, right? Where would he make money? I mean, this is not charity, right? So obviously, mixing milk with water, right? So what he does is he takes out some quantity of milk and replaces it with water, correct? So because he is not selling, so say he is selling 100 liters of milk. Now that won't contain 100 liters of milk, correct? It contains less amount of milk because he's mixed it with water, correct? So hence he is making a profit on this because his selling price is now much greater than the cost price because he is not selling 100 liters of milk, right? Let's just try and understand this, okay? Initially, this guy buys 100 liters of milk, correct? Let's assume that it costs him rupees 100, correct? So this is the cost price, and he's telling that this is his selling price as well, right? So he's telling that he is selling 100 liters of milk at rupees 100, which was his cost price as well. That's what he's claiming. Let's see what is actually happening. Now, yes, it's true that he's selling 100 liters. He's not doing any gapla or cheating in that, okay? But what is this guy cleverly doing? He is replacing some X liters of milk, right, with X liters of water, correct? So, in effect, in the 100 liters of the mixture that he is selling, okay, how many liters of milk are actually there? 100 minus X, right? Because X liters is now replaced by water, correct? There's only 100 minus X liters of milk. Understood? So, what is the cost price for this guy for 100 minus X liters of milk? Correct? 100 minus X liters of milk, but this also contains X liters of water, correct? So for the 100 liters, his cost price is only 100 minus X, because water comes it free, right? It does not have any cost. That's the assumption. So hence, it costs him only 100 minus X rupees for 100 liters of that mixture. What is his selling price? 100, right? Because he is saying that I am selling it at the same cost price, correct? So for 100 liters of mixture, he is still selling it at 100 rupees. So, what is his profit? X rupees, right? Understood? So, what is his profit percentage basis this understanding? Profit percentage is profit upon cost price, right? For 100 liters of the mixture, correct? Now, this is given as 20 upon 100, correct? So, can't I write it as 1 by 5, correct? So, that gives me X is equal to 100 by 6, correct? Now, what is X? X is also equal to the quantity of water. Now, if I know the quantity of water, what is the quantity of milk? 100 minus X, right? Which is equal to 500 by 6, which is 100 minus 100 by 6, right? So, 600 minus 100 by 6, which gives me 500 by 6. So, from this, can't I find out the ratio of water and milk, right? So, what is the ratio of water and milk here? I'm just utilizing this small tiny space here, because I have taken up all the space, right? What is the quantity of water? 100 by 6, correct? What is the quantity of milk? 500 by 6, correct? This reduces to 100 by 500, and hence your answer is 1 by 5. Clear? So this is the normal, logical, traditional way to solve this question, correct? So water and milk have to be mixed in the ratio 1:5, so that this guy makes a profit of 20%. Now let's look at using the concept of allegations. So we saw how to solve that question using basic concepts, and or we can call it the traditional method, correct? Now let's use the allegation concept to solve this, right? So what's given? The cost price and the selling price are equal, right, according to the merchant. So let's assume that the cost price of milk is rupee 1, correct? Now he is claiming that the selling price is also equal to rupee 1, but we know from the question that he made a profit of 20%, correct? So the cost price of the mixture that he is selling is not equal to rupee 1, right? It will be less than rupee 1. That's the only way in which he can make a 20% profit. So how do we find that out? Cp into 1.2, right, is Sp. That's what is given. Why 1.2, right? Now what is profit? Profit is always calculated on the cost price. That's a basic concept, right? So what is selling price is equal to? It is cost price plus cost price into profit percentage, correct? So 1 plus 1 into 20 by 100, right? So 1 plus 1 into 0.2, which is equal to 1.2 into Cp, right? That's how you obtain this relationship. Okay, so what is Cp then? We know that Sp is 1 rupee, right? 1 upon 1.2 or 1 upon 12 by 10 or 10 by 12, which is equal to 5 by 6, correct? So this is the cost price of the mixture, correct? Because the selling price is rupee 1, correct? And because he made a profit of 20%, we found out that Cp into 1.2, right? 20%. So if something is 20% more, 1.2. If it's 30% more, into 1.3. If it's 40% more, into 1.4. Correct? That's the shortcut, right? So Cp into 1.2 is Sp. What is Sp? Sp is 1 rupee. Correct? So the Cp, the cost price of the mixture, will be less than 1 rupee, which is equal to 5 by 6. That's how he made a profit. Correct? So now let's try and use our alligation formula. What do we have to find out in our alligation formula? The quantity of water to the quantity of milk, right? What ratio should they be mixed? In what ratio should they be mixed to make a profit of 20% is what the question is. This is equal to price of milk minus price of mixture divided by price of mixture minus price of water, correct? What is the price of milk? 1, correct? 1 liter of milk is equal to rupee 1, correct? But what is 1 liter of the mixture equal to? 5 by 6, correct? Minus 5 by 6. Understood this concept, right? Your milk is equal to rupee 1. That's what we assume, correct? So the mixture, however, contains milk and water, right? Which is why the guy made a profit of 20%, right? So definitely the selling price, which is rupee 1, right, will be higher than the cost price of the mixture. That's why he made a profit, right? So hence we calculated that the cost price is equal to 5 by 6, correct? So hence the price of 1 liter of milk is equal to 1 rupees and the price of 1 liter of the resultant mixture is equal to 5 by 6, correct? I have just substituted that. 5 by 6 again minus what is the price of water? Water is free. That's what we have assumed, right? Minus 0, correct? So this is equal to what? 6 minus 5 by 6 upon 5 by 6, correct? Let's just bring it over here because there's no space there, right? Continuing from there, we got QW, right? Quantity of water is to quantity of milk is equal to 6 minus 5 upon 6 divided by 5 by 6, right? This is what? 1 by 6. 1 by 6 upon 5 by 6. What is this equal to? 1 by 6 into 6 by 5, right? Which is equal to 1 by 5, right? This is the answer, 1:5. So water and milk have to be mixed in the ratio 1:5. So we got this answer in the previous method as well. So this is how you solve using the method of alligations. Hope this concept is clear for you. Please practice more questions basis the understanding that you have gained through this session. Okay. Be confident in attempting these questions. Remember that practice makes perfect. But before practicing, you have to get your concepts clear, which is what we have done in our session today. Thank you.